Teacups, what's brewing? Welcome back to the channel. We have a Q&A from Foodie. She's been a little bit quiet this week. We did get some content from the campground, but all I really took from it was, wow, she seems miserable. And the campground seemed hideous. Sorry, it did. So I didn't really cover that, but we will get into this one. So let's get ourselves started, shall we? So Foodie is wearing this red thing she got from Thailand, and even though the pattern is hideous, and I do love me a pattern, I will embrace it, from how she's got the camera framed and with the red hijab, like, it doesn't go badly together. This is definitely the best it could look. But the filters are up, ooh, amazingly high even for her.
Well, hi there, guys. Hi. So I'm finally getting around to doing the Q&A. So what I'm going to do is...
Maybe not. Maybe it just feels like ages.
Answer as many questions as I can in this video. I'll probably do a second part, depending on how many and how long it takes me to answer the questions. I want to say thank you, first of all, for everyone who's taken the time to ask me something.
That will be the only time she's thankful for that.
I don't know how much these questions are going to make me laugh, smile, piss me off, who knows. But I feel like what I'm going to do is answer the top questions first, so the ones that have the most likes, and go.
This is a good strategy because it means, people will be very interested in the questions, but isn't in fact what she does, which confuses me.
From there, okay, so let me see here. I have my other phone. All right, let's get to.
Okay.
Okay, so far there's 70 questions. Let me just, top comments. Will you ever answer these questions? Well, smart Alec. Yeah, I'm doing it now.
She's smiling there like that's a joke. She seems quite angry during this, and I'm like, my dear, you requested these questions because, in your words, you needed content. So we would expect you to have answered it slightly faster than this because apparently you needed content and couldn't be bothered, so you took it to your audience to do. Don't get me wrong, Amber Lynn does it all the time, but you requested these. So let's not get too snarky about it now, shall we?
Do you think you could spend the rest of your life in the heat of the desert and having to travel every few months for the rest of your life?
I don't think she could, but we'll see what she does.
Let me read that again. Do you think you could spend the rest of your life in the...
Reading comprehension, not her thing. It would have been a good idea to sort these first and have an idea of what was coming, which I'm sure she's read them first, so this shouldn't be as hard as it is.
This is a question from a Beezer, by the way.
So not a troll, or maybe a troll, because the Beezers don't always wish her well either. It feels like it's not somebody that necessarily wishes her well, the way that was phrased, but that's okay. It's still an interesting question. People obviously want to hear it because it was one of the top questions.
Thank you very much, Beezer. When I live my life, basically, let me explain how I live my life. I don't ever think of the forever,
That is true.
I really just live in the now. So, I plan for kind of immediate future, but I don't know how I'm going to feel in a few years. I don't know what my life is going to be like. You can plan your future all you want, make these big plans far down the line, and then God says, no, I have other plans for you.
That is absolutely true. That happens all the time, but making plans and then having to adapt them because naturally life changes is not the same as not having plans. And there is something to be said for living in the moment and just saying, you know what will come will come. But Foodie is getting a little bit older now, and I'm not saying that as an insult. I am older than she is, but she's getting a little bit older. And given that her financial situation isn't good, given that her place in Kuwait is fairly precarious, the reason she doesn't plan ahead is when she has to seriously think about these things, it scares her, I think. Because when you seriously think about these things, she's got so much work to do about it. But also on top of that, she lives in this kind of fantasy land where she's like, well, yes, these things are dangerous, but it will never happen to me. But at the same time, she uses that, I think, in some ways to be like, well, there's no point in planning. And if there's one thing I will say for Chantal, is that God loves fools and children. And a lot of situations that she knowingly put herself into, she has more or less gotten out of. Now, her health seems to be catching up with her right now. But she's got more reasons to plan than to not plan, put it that way. Because if she does beat the odds, she is going to need a plan. And if she doesn't, there's no harm in having one. She obviously needs to sort her life out.
And, or you know, circumstances change, whatever. Things happen. So, I really don't know. I don't love the heat, so...
Yeah, it was the perfect place for her to go.
Preferably in the future, you know, yeah, we want to travel. We want to travel and experience different climates, different environments. I typically don't like to stay in one place forever. Forever is kind of a word that scares me when it comes to staying put.
Bear in mind, as she said that, she went to Cuba, and she has travelled since she got here. She's had to. But until she came to Kuwait, I think she'd done one trip in about 20 years. So she'd stayed a long time. Now, people make that change all the time, and they get started, and there we are. You can do that at any age, but you can't necessarily do that at any state of health. I could see her and Salah taking advantage of tourist visas in the way they're supposed to be taken advantage of, and jumping from country to country like every 3 months, or going somewhere where there's a slightly longer visa and staying there and managing themselves that way, because Chantal can stream from anywhere. But I don't think Chantal could do that by herself long term, or rather she would have to if she were put in that position, because I don't think they're going to last long term. But I don't think she would choose to do it again without Salah. But I think Salah has a lot more to lose by doing it, because if they did go on a more permanent travel plan where, yes, they were still hopping, but they were outside of Kuwait for a certain amount of time, he would stand to lose his residency. And unless he's getting to Canada, or they're able to get him on some other kind of permanent residency somewhere else, I don't think he'd be willing to give that up, because that's a big risk for him.
Okay, the first question had 54 likes. The second one, 207.
Okay, so you're not doing it by top comment then, because if it had the most likes, 207 would have been first. So how are you sorting these comments?
And this one has a whopping 411.
So why is it third? It's a little thing and it doesn't really matter, but what are you doing?
If you weren't doing YouTube, what minimum wage job do you think you'd be struggling at right now?
A little shady, but nonetheless true. There's no need for that attitude. You asked for this. And unless you're incapable of learning, and I realise as I say that I'm talking about Chantal, but I mean like incapable of learning at the level of electrocuted white rats, okay, incapable of learning, then you've done this before. You knew exactly what to expect. So keep your little to yourself, except of course you won't.
Honestly, if I never did YouTube, I would probably be working in the field that I have been working in for many, many, many years.
Many, many, many years? You had call center and then you went into medical admin, which is what she's about to say. How many years did you work in that? And between you and me, audience, do you think she would have lasted in that field? I mean, she got the settlement from the other job, so that can't be held against her. But she's been through her employment history and she got fired from every job she'd ever done. At what point does it become impossible to get a reference? Because one thing about me being a teacher is that the industry is a little bit different from something like that. But I feel like at some point there would be a line. But if you're going to argue that, I suppose, if she hadn't started doing YouTube full time, if she had to stick to her schedule, if she had to move around more, if she had to do X, Y, Z, would she be at the level she's at now, forced to interact with the world in a way she's not forced to at the moment? It's an interesting what if path.
Health administration type jobs, in healthcare offices, in hospital, clinics, stuff like that. Or who knows, I would be doing something else. Like, I'm very kind of unpredictable when it comes to changing my path of life. And even I don't really trust myself to have a solid plan. So
And I'd say that's true, but it's because she's had pretty much the monetary freedom to do that. Like, the ability to be very wishy-washy in what you're doing is a privilege, because most people still have to, I mean, even she does, they still have to like pay the bills and do that kind of stuff. There's a practical element to it. And I find it interesting that somewhere in the multiverse, there will be a version of Chantal that went to work, that did the thing, that kept up with people, and is just like a better version than she is now. Like, there are lots of inflection points with her when I'm like, what if she had made a different choice? That was actually one of the things that got me interested in her, because I do truly believe that if I had gone a few different ways at a few different points, I'd be very, very similar to her.
I don't know, I might get bored with that, because I was kind of getting bored with that field of work, and I just wanted to do something else. So that's why I took the opportunity to try something else while I was off of work. So honestly, either an admin job or something completely unimaginable that I have no idea what it would be. But I think it's important to acknowledge that there are a lot of people who struggle with minimum wage jobs. And I do think people, should be paid a livable wage. And there's a lot of room for reform in that. And if you're struggling, my thoughts and prayers are with you. And
I don't think that comment intended that to be financial struggling. I think they intended it to be like, how would you perform in a job?
Everyone struggles in life, even me. I'm not rich, by any means.
Not anymore. You were doing pretty well for yourself, but you're just so wasteful with it. When you think of the number of opportunities she's wasted that so many people don't get a chance at.
I'm probably like YouTube minimum wage, I don't know, whatever, but
it's a hard knock life for us.
So you gotta do what you gotta do to survive. I don't think there's, anything wrong with that. Okay, this one has 80 likes. Earlier this year, you mentioned that you had an appointment for a psychiatric assessment in April. What happened with that? Do you think it's necessary to address your mental health in order to build a solid foundation for personal growth, maintain healthy relationships, and achieve overall well-being? Yes. So my belief with mental health help has shifted a little bit ever since I've been, first of all, I don't remember saying that I had a psychiatric assessment. I think I
thought she did. Maybe I'm wrong. My memory's not good with it. But she had definitely said that she went to see someone. They gave her some resources. Did she say she had something here? I don't quite remember.
Going to seek one out, but I just never did go. In Canada, getting a psychiatrist, the wait list is so long. It's so long.
But she's been to many psychiatrists that she's wasted the time of. So it's not so long that she couldn't get help. She just chose not to utilize it.
Here, I don't know, what I would have to do, what I would have to pay. I could look it up for sure.
Yeah, you can.
But
there are psychiatrists in, or psychological help within the country, or at least there have been in Saudi, in Oman. I know people that go to therapists here. And you can also do online therapy. You can do it, I don't mean in the Better Health way, I mean you can have online appointments with therapists from home. I will say that therapy is usually not covered by insurance because mental health isn't really considered that way, so you do have to pay out of pocket, but she doesn't have insurance, so she'd have to pay out of pocket regardless.
I've been in and out of mental health, systems since I'm 15.
Since I'm 15, not since you were 15? Okay, let's move on.
Gone over that history. I could do another video if you want to hear the...
Please don't. We've heard your version of this. We've compared it to the version you've told us in the moment, and it wouldn't make a difference anyway, because the point of knowing the past is it informing the future.
A complete video, then let me know. I can go into a lot of detail, take the time to detail that, my history with that. Since becoming more religious,
since pretending to become more religious,
just doing a lot of self-help, self-education, stuff like that on my own, reading more into things.
Chantal, please make a list of books that you have read in their entirety, because I'm guessing that would be a blank piece of paper. And even if it weren't the case, if reading self-help books could help you, you would have helped yourself by now.
Okay, I really don't
She is so uncomfortable with this question. Can you see?
feel comfortable talking to a one-on-one therapist or anything like that. I've tried
Why?
it many times.
Why? Because then you have to answer questions, because then there isn't a way to distract. You can't take your cats in for deflection.
Maybe I didn't give it long enough chance, but I just
you
don't
didn't.
don't like it.
And I understand that because it's very uncomfortable. But the point is to be there long enough to build the trust that, yes, you realize that you might be a little embarrassed, you might be a little whatever, but it does you good. But Chantal never goes long enough to build that kind of trust. And so that level of discomfort always overwhelms her. But the fact that she doesn't mind saying it online, but she does mind saying it in person, is a reason to have a therapist.
And again, I could go into more details at another time, but
You've done it already.
basically, I'm on medication, which does help with the mental illness.
She buys the medication over the counter for the mental illness side of things. And that's like, I get my antidepressants over the counter because you can get them over the counter here. But I went to a doctor when I got them prescribed. I don't just randomly come off of them. And I've worked with a doctor enough that I'm like, okay, I recognize when I'm going through those cycles and they're starting to get out of my own control. Because there have been times when I've been medicated, and there's been times where I've been able to manage it through just life and certain habits.
I think it's just something I'm just gonna have to like live with for life. It's a medical, more of a clinical depression. Mental health runs in my family,
Mental health runs in your family. I think you might mean the opposite of that.
and there's partly genetic. There's also a lot of situational things that I can change that can improve my state of mind.
Definitely. And we've said before, like, situationally, she's in a bad place, and that doesn't help. But she's also just said clinically depressed. Situational will make it worse, but she will likely always cycle to an extent.
That I acknowledge fully. It's really, really, really hard, which is why I'm not very successful, because I've been to like cognitive behavior therapy. I've tried that.
Tried. Not been consistent with.
Very briefly, but
Yeah.
there's just, to me, it's like you can look up all of these things online. There's so many online registered therapists and
There are, but you're not using them. You mean you look up some like pseudoscience self-help green juice book, and that's the same as going to a licensed therapist. Here's the thing, like, self-teaching can do a lot sometimes. I wouldn't say that Chantal has the discipline to be able to self-teach. I wouldn't say she has the ability with like reflection or reading comprehension or any of those skills that would allow her to successfully navigate being self-taught, because she does everything she can to avoid feeling icky. Sometimes you need tools. I am a teacher. My students could just go read a book and learn something, but they have teachers for a reason. I am one of the tools they use to get a better education. And I know with COVID, things got a bit dicey there, but it's okay to not be self-taught with this, because it's an incredibly complex thing and you need someone trained to be able to help you through it. And again, if you were capable of doing that yourself, you would not be who you are today. Having access to information doesn't mean you know how to use it to the best advantage.
stuff like that, who have tips and how to deal with situations. That's fine. But it's just also lifestyle. I have to really, really, really set myself up for success. I have to exercise more, because that like really helps your brain.
Absolutely. Having healthy habits done on a regular routine will help to build stability into your life. That is true. But when you're lying in bed or sealing on the sofa and your kitchen is degrading into a toxic waste ground and you can't figure out why you can't get yourself up, that is when the therapist comes in. Because you know what you have to do, but you're not doing it, and that's what you need help through.
Chemicals, like the happy ones, you know. I have to eat better. I have to do so many things to try and improve my situation. I have to stay spiritual. I have to stay connected to God, you know.
How are you planning to do that? I don't think God has Wi-Fi. This is not the way forward.
So I just think that there's a lot of things that I have to work myself. I have to work on myself and not rely so much on help from outside sources.
That is absolutely nonsensical. The outside sources are trained in the methodology and techniques that you will need help applying. They can educate you, they can guide you, and if you're struggling to stay on track, they can look at different methods that might help you more. They can have you work through the things that might be stopping you because they are outside of you. They are not being tricked by your brain chemistry. You are.
No, it's like I know what I have to do. I don't feel like I'm lost and need a life coach and stuff.
We're not saying life coach. We're saying hard psychological help.
I know what I need to do to succeed. It's just the doing it, you know.
Go to therapy. There is a reason you find it hard to the extent that it's interfering with your life. That is the key point there. If the things you suffer with are preventing you from doing things that you need to do in order to live a stable and fulfilling life, then you need some help. There's no shame in needing help. But that is the point at which you go, I don't seem to be in control of this.
No, it's like tools are nothing if you don't apply them.
But it's easier to apply tools if you own them. Tools will do you no good in the shop. You may want to apply tools. If they're in the shop, you can't try them out.
So that's my problem. I have seen a psychiatrist many, many times.
You've seen different psychiatrists many, many times. Not one.
I don't think I've had like a proper recent full-blown psychiatric assessment. I think that would be probably beneficial because if there are brain diseases, mental health diseases, maybe that I have, like...
Let me break this down for you. Nothing is going to have changed. Your mental health, while it's cycling faster, it's just being left to fester. But the fundamental causes of that, even though they're having increasing impact on your life as your life shrinks, will be the same. If you never address things, they just get worse.
That I don't know, and I'm not being medicated properly for them. Who knows? So maybe in the future I will look into that. Right now I'm on
the future that you don't think about. Okay.
Cipralex at 10 milligrams, and that actually does help with taking the edge off. But I
think that is the same antidepressant medication I am on. And 10 milligrams, in the words of my doctor that prescribed it to me originally, 10 milligrams is barely a therapeutic dose. It was what they put me on when I was first coming onto them, because all antidepressants have a risk of increased unaliving yourself because they make you feel more capable. And if you're in the wrong frame of mind, one of the things they can make you feel more capable of is saying goodbye. So they started me on 10, and then when they were sure that wasn't where I was heading, they were like, do you want to continue? Do you feel this is helpful for you? And we bumped it up to 20. And I'm sure her body weight, and this isn't being shady, but her body weight would have an impact on that because how you absorb medication does change based on your weight. So I don't see what 10 milligrams would actually do for her here. But even if her weight's not an issue at all, like I said, the exact phrase my doctor said was 10 milligrams is barely a therapeutic dose.
I still go into depressive moments, but, I'm in and out of them. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of a roundabout. I don't know. I really know how to answer that question.
Oh, and she also doesn't take her medication regularly, as we have seen many times on this channel.
But thank you for asking the question.
To be continued for the rest of her life because she has no intention of doing the uncomfortable thing and accessing help when she needs it.
You have a good point. I know there's a lot of my audience that just wants to see me do well and really tackle my issues.
I used to feel that way. And to be honest, if she managed it, even though she's awful, I'd still be happy for her. But she's never going to do it, so no fear.
You know, I understand that.
I'll acknowledge it, but do nothing about it. That's the same thing.
Okay, this one has 76 likes.
It's not how numbers work.
Okay, this is a long one.
Do you ever feel embarrassed? I'm not even asking.
Oh, that's not helpful, Chantal. That's not helpful. I will read this for you so you don't have to listen to the squirrel voice. Do you ever feel embarrassed? I'm not even asking at this stage to be mean, nor am I asking to be nice, I suppose. I'm fixated on trying to understand if you feel embarrassment at all. And if you do feel embarrassed, how do you keep uploading? Like, is it that you don't feel it, or is it that you don't care? Or you care a little bit, but you found a way to push past it? Psychologists have described elements like the shame landfill in recent times, in which your shame landfill starts off empty and then is filled with other people's fears and insecurities. And I would love to know what you think about that. If you think you have one, let's fucking go, Chantal, let us know. I'm asking that in the tone of someone who's asking someone else who works at NASA about Saturn, by the way, like 100% genuine interest. There, I've saved your ears.
Okay, let me read that again.
This was a little painful because that comment wasn't hard to understand.
Psychologist landfill. Okay, so
odds that she's going to Google that and it's going to be part of her language from now on. Oh no, she looks terrified. She's like, ah. You can hear the hamster turning.
So basically what you're saying is we all have a clean slate, and then we become embarrassed and like develop self-doubt based on other people's fears and insecurities, and like we mirror that. I don't really understand that. Like, I pretty much flunked out of psychology, so
you pretty much flunked out of reading.
I don't understand. Maybe you could like elaborate. Maybe in part 2 I can answer this, but I genuinely don't understand what you mean. The first part, do I ever feel embarrassment? I mean, I'm human, so yeah, but it's very fleeting, and it's very rare that I feel embarrassed.
I think there are 2 reasons for this. One, she's done enough that you must become kind of numb to it. It's like people telling her she's going to have a heart attack. You can only hear it so many times before you just think, well, I'll go where to go. Because she's got no plans to change her habits, and there's only so scared you can be for so long before it becomes your normal. I also think that she spends so much of her experience in life behind a camera. And I've said this before, that the camera becomes a buffer. We're not real people to her. And so even though we can enrage her like real people, even though she can't disengage, she doesn't have the same sense of shame. And we see that when she interacts with people in real life. She's completely different. And her emotional responses are completely different when she feels like she's been insulted in real life than if she feels she's been insulted online. She doesn't rage in real life. She just crumples.
I just don't feel embarrassed about, things that you would normally feel embarrassed about.
But she still doesn't like one-to-one therapy because it makes her feel icky.
Letting one rip in public.
She finds farts funny.
Stuff like that, like, I don't know. Whatever people get. Rejection.
That, to me, it's a weird pairing. But she's like, oh yeah, embarrassing moments that sometimes people get stuck in that seem particularly prevalent with her and her stomach issues that would embarrass anyone, versus something very big and nebulous and damaging like rejection, and sort of the vague overreaching power of that. They do not match up at all, but it's very telling that she said it.
Like, I don't care, because to me, why be embarrassed about something that we all get embarrassed over? We all do.
And that's the thing with Chantal. If she does it, everyone must do it and just not be honest about it, because that's how she manages her life. I'm not worse than everyone else, just no one else is honest. And that's how she justifies all of the things that are quite weird about her. She will not believe you when you say, no, and that's not something everybody does.
Like, we're human. We should be understanding each other, not like, not making someone feel shame and to feel embarrassed about something that happens. Like,
you, Chantal Marie, are telling us, your berated audience, that we shouldn't be shaming or making people feel embarrassed about natural things? Is that where we are right now?
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I really just, I don't. I guess it's just a lack of caring about these things.
All right. Then you wouldn't be embarrassed to go to therapy. You wouldn't be uncomfortable when talking to a therapist about these things in detail.
I am just understanding of the human condition and to certain degrees. And
to certain very narrow degrees. I don't think she understands even basic normal humanity because she doesn't live like that. And like I said, she's not willing to accept that she might be different from other people because that feels like rejection. If you're different, you're weird. Because Chantal hasn't moved past that mentality.
And to certain things. So that just, yeah, I just don't have that ability to be embarrassed about certain things. So
okay, then do a live show. And I don't mean a live, I mean go out where people can see you and you can't see the camera. Go out and act the way you do on camera in public and then tell us you're not embarrassed.
Oh, yeah, thanks for asking. Okay, 85 likes. Why do you think wearing that hat is a good idea? Oh,
any hat she mentions, it was a bad idea.
The hat in the thumbnail, the tie hat. Well, I wear it just to annoy you.
Well, that'll show us because we're the ones who look ridiculous.
This one has 258.
Numbers. Of course it does.
Likes. If you post a random video and we get you to 50k views in less than 24 hours, will you go back to Canada?
No.
If only it was that easy.
Yeah, no. I'm not going to, make a huge life change just for the entertainment of others.
Sorry. Let her finish a sentence and we'll get into that.
And 50k views? No, I'm not going to do something I don't want to do just for views. Just, no.
No, I get it. No, she's way above that. But speaking of changing her life on very little reason, how long did she know her husband? Her loophole husband? Before she moved herself out to Kuwait? How long did she consider what being a Muslim would involve before she put on the hijab? These are all just completely unrelated questions, nothing to do with her timeline or her decision making.
I've said this a lot. I know people are more fixated on my views than I am. People check Social Blade more than I do.
Oh, really? Is that why you've been trying to funnel people over to the couples channel? Because you don't need the views.
I maybe checked once or twice when it was brought up, my income, and I was like, wow, Social Blade is way off.
Social Blade is way off. Social Blade does usually very much underestimate what you're getting.
And then beyond that, I'm not going to obsess over numbers. I'm just not. I'm happy. I'm content. As long as I can, make videos that make you guys happy or
make videos that make us happy. That is her only wish, you guys.
Share my life with you in some ways or entertain you in some ways.
And afford fancy cheese and pickles, or not fancy, as the case may be. Yeah, money is a practical need in life. I'm not blaming her for wanting her coin. She's the one ruining her life on camera. The very least she should get paid for it, otherwise what was it all for? Now you can argue that it's not worth what she does to herself, but she needs to get paid. But we know how she lived when she had the money to live that way, and we know how she lives now.
Content. That's why I'm a content creator. That's why I like being on the camera. I've always been that way. But I can't force it. If I'm not happy doing something, you'll know. You'll just know because
we will know, but you'll still force it because you still need to get paid. You need a paycheck. Everyone needs a paycheck.
For me, I'm a very passionate person. And when it comes to, I lose interest, I become interested fast and I lose interest very fast if I'm not passionate or if I don't enjoy something. So if I don't like doing it, then, I'm not going to do it.
Which is why she's never going to do long-term therapy or a long-term diet.
So, I'm not going to go back to Canada just for views, no.
No, but she might get kicked out of Kuwait. She might just be in a position where she can't pop the way she's doing it. I could very easily see Kuwait losing its shine, as it seems to already be. And she might not go back to Canada because there are so many issues with her going back to Canada. The cost of everything, which goes back to the fact she needs a paycheck. The fact that her credit is ruined. Even if she's making payments on the payment plan that she claimed she had for back taxes, she hasn't done this year's tax. And she certainly hasn't saved for things, so she's only digging that particular hole deeper. And cost of living everywhere has gone up quite a lot, and I don't think she's prepared for that. But I think if she could make the trip more easily, if she were in better health, we'd see more tantrums and more running away. And she might go back, but the less she does it independently, the more she relies on Salah, the less likely she is to extract herself from the situation.
How is your lifestyle change going?
It's not.
59 likes. I hate the number 59, so I'm gonna like that, make it 60. A little bit of OCD with numbers.
You're so quirky.
I'm gonna do an update video on that. But basically, it's off and on, kind of, you know, so.
To what extent? Because if you're counting a morning as on, it's off.
It's not as good when I was consistently staying on track and keeping the calories counted. I do slip up here and there, but I will have in the near future.
So wait, if it wasn't as good when you were keeping track and counting calories and stuff, that implies you're not doing that now. So you're not on and off, you're just off.
Video update on that whenever I can.
So
44
busy.
likes. When was the last time you prayed? Okay, I have to go on a rant about this comment.
Of course you do. Please go ahead.
First of all, I'm not going to answer your fucking comment, okay? Because
Your fucking comment about my prayers because I'm a delicate lady.
number one, I think it's absolutely 100% ridiculous that people ask somebody something so personal, like your spiritual religious journey is no one's business.
Under normal circumstances, I would be there with you. I don't like to talk about people's religion, so it's not something I generally go through, but occasionally something will be going on, or there'll be a holiday, or there'll be whatever, and I'll ask a question to one of my Muslim co-workers and they'll explain what the celebration is and we'll have a chat about it, and it's quite interesting. But here's the issue with Chantal. She made every aspect of her conversion into Islam part of her channel. She showed us when she put on the hijab. She showed us when she was thinking of covering her face as well, and then she changed her mind. She told us that it was only for views, and then she changed her mind again and she went back. She recorded her shahada and posted it. She has done videos where she's done clips of herself very performatively praying to show how Muslim she is. She has driven past mosques and then not gone in. So to consider the topic of religion open for discussion is quite natural under these circumstances, in a way that it might not be in different contexts. Furthermore, we know that Chantal has admitted to not washing herself below certain areas, which means that she cannot be performing wudu correctly and therefore is not following one of the major aspects of her faith the way it's supposed to be followed. And I realized she'd be like, who are you to say what it's supposed to be? I have worked in schools. There are lessons, because I've had assemblies where there have been videos for the younger ones saying, how do you do wudu? Let's teach it. I've worked with co-workers and with students who can't get their nails done because they need to be able to wash to be able to pray. And if you cover your nails, it doesn't go to the bed of your nails and you're not considered clean. Now, I realize there are things on the market that supposedly bypass that. I believe it hasn't been ruled on by the religious councils over whether it's permissible or not. But that's not really the point of what I'm saying, you know? So we know she doesn't wash correctly. We know she has trouble physically, although there are alterations you can make. The intent of the prayer is really more important. We know she doesn't visit the mosque. We know that she doesn't seem to follow a lot of the celebrations, and I'm sure she'd argue that she's not going to show other people online, but there we go. We know that we've seen no evidence of her connecting with the community around her, and she's got a lot of community around her she could connect with, but she didn't have a single person's phone number that she could call when it came to getting in touch with Salah. It was such a rare occurrence that she met somebody to make a friend that she made a video around it. So we can be forgiven for thinking perhaps she doesn't have a community, that she's not reaching out to imams, that she's not educating herself in a way you would expect reverts to do. She does not have to be a perfect Muslim. A perfect Muslim doesn't exist. But she's not doing any of those things. And she's admitted to sleeping all day, so clearly she's sleeping through the prayer times because her schedule is fucked. I realise I've been going on about this for a while, but it's an entirely fair question within the context of Chantal, her channel, and what we know of her. But don't worry, sis, go off.
I don't know why people obsess over that with Muslims.
Not with Muslims, with you, because you're the one showing us your routines, and they don't seem to include anything.
A Christian, I don't know if this person is Christian. If you're Christian, why are you asking another person of a different religion when they pray? Worry about your own prayer. If you're non-religious, if you don't believe in God, why do you care?
Because you're saying one thing and you're showing us another. That's why we care. That's why we always care. Because what you do doesn't make sense with what you say. And given that you yourself show us what you do, that's pretty stupid, because you could fix that. You could edit that. You lie about everything else, you could lie about that. And yet here we are.
Someone else prays. You don't believe in God, so who cares? What is it to you? When I pray, how often I pray is only between me and God.
Okay, so she doesn't do that. That's fine.
And the only person the only being that should care is God.
And the massive audience that you called out, that you judge every day based on your supposed Muslim standards, that you lie to constantly and show nothing but evidence of not engaging with your faith, get out of here.
Oh, I don't understand people's obsession. I've never claimed to be a perfect Muslim.
But you have claimed to be a Muslim.
I don't even really do Islamic content,
Bullshit. You're sitting here in a hijab, you filmed your shahada, you took us around, you had content based entirely around the fact that you were Maryam.
Because I'm not a beacon of light, I'm a person who's very flawed, and I'm still working on myself and my spiritual journey. So when I pray, again, it's none of your business.
Great. What else are you doing to work on your spiritual journey? Does she have to have anything particular? No, supposedly not. But there are things that are generally done when you convert, and she doesn't do any of them. And we are online enough that we would see, and I'm sure her first thought will be, no, you don't see all the things that go on. For someone who lies so much, she couldn't cover her ass to save her life. Things always come out eventually. And given that she is so low on content, given that she struggles so much to fill her time, and that she comes live so much, which is never really a good idea because she can't edit herself, we would have seen some signs of some evidence, and we haven't. And it's not like people aren't looking.
And thanks anyways. This one has 21 likes. When will you finally go back to Canada? I don't know.
When she can afford it, so probably never. Unless forced by some outside intervention, and then she's just going to have to make it work in that ever so flexible way she claims she can.
I really don't know. If this question comes up again, I'll just skip it because it's redundant. I've answered it now. I have no idea. I plan on visiting with Salah at some point. I just don't know when. Honestly, Canada is... I want to visit other countries first. I'm more interested in doing other content. I've been...
But yet, when you went abroad, you went to Thailand again.
To Canada many times. He hasn't, but...
But screw him, because it's me that's
important. I think, I'm just interested in exploring, foreign areas right now. So, I miss my family, so I will need to visit them, with or without Salah, at some point. But
at some point being when exactly?
I don't know when. The trip to Canada, my dear, is so long and arduous. So, I don't...
You chose to live in Kuwait. I used to do a 27-hour journey from England to Indonesia. because my final like domestic flight was always really poorly timed and I had to spend like 12 hours in the airport in Jakarta. Her state of being is making it a lot harder. But if that's the case, then she's not going to be able to explore all the other areas either, because everything is going to be hard.
Know when I'm going to go back, but you guys will know for sure. Thanks for the comment. 64 likes. I'm not surprised. And I'm like, can I roll my eyes like major?
Do you ever not?
Ow. What is your true weight? And are you going to buy clothes that fit you for your size?
You're literally sitting in something that did not fit you, I'm just going to say.
Lorraine, your question is stupid. I mean, do you want me to go to China, Japan,
yes.
Cambodia,
yes,
Peru,
yes,
to try their scales?
I'd rather you did something else there, but yes.
I don't know how many countries I have to travel to, how many scales I have to get on, how many doctor's offices I have to visit.
Actually, probably only one of any of those things. Just stop doing it in such a dodgy way. If there's nothing wrong with what you're saying, maybe there's not, but just get on. Show the whole process. You're walking to the office, get on, have no breaks or cuts, and show it. If you hadn't been like, woo, on the scale when you were in Thailand, people wouldn't say anything. If Pete hadn't done you one when he got on the scale and it showed 70 pounds difference than it should have, you wouldn't have a problem. If you weren't cutting weird every time you weighed yourself, you wouldn't have a problem. The problem, as ever, is that you are not a trustworthy source. And while it's possible that your weight is what you have said your weight is, we have seen a visible difference in you, and maybe it's you getting older, but if we see a visible difference but we don't see a visible number difference, that's one of the things that provokes questions.
That all say around the same weight for you to believe my weight. So you know what? Let's just make you happy, Lorraine, and say my weight is 500 pounds. Are you happy?
God, people are so ridiculous.
Good. Thanks for the question.
Not like I ever make content about this.
This one has 91 likes. Do you and Salah have a retirement plan? I don't know if his job does 401k or some type of retirement fund.
I think there is a pension in Oman. I'm not sure about Kuwait. But Salah is not Kuwaiti. He has a residence card, so I don't think he would be eligible for it either way. But I haven't looked into that, so I'm just guessing. But I know that I don't have a pension with my job because even though I have a residency plan, it's tied to my contract, which is not meant to be forever. It gets extended every year. That's why I have a private pension.
Or even if Kuwait does that in general, or do y'all just put money aside each check into a savings account?
She does none of these things, but good try.
Or an emergency fund in case something were to happen and one or both of you couldn't work anymore.
Yeah, maybe if you needed an emergency visit back to Canada, for example, you should probably have some money in your account that could cover that.
Here in the US, I have an emergency fund and a pretty good size 401k for retirement, and I'm only 35, so I'm curious at Salah's age how he plans for retirement.
I think we would have had more success in her answering this with less attitude if they had stopped that at you couldn't work anymore. By adding their own experience, it just is going to make Chantal feel judged, which apparently she's not embarrassed by, but there we go. So if you just said, hey, you know, what will you do if you've got an emergency? Maybe we would have got more information about this.
Yeah, I don't...
Her face, why would I want to do that?
I don't think that's anything financial. Like, honestly, I don't think that's anyone's business.
You've told us about your bankruptcies. You've told us about ruining Pete's credit. What do you mean it's none of our business? You told us that you didn't pay your taxes for 4 years. We are beyond it not being our business. If we can watch you shit on camera, and God, I wish I hadn't, but there we go, everything is our business.
I don't know what to say. Good.
If it's none of your business, then it just means she hasn't done that.
Good for you. You have an awesome 401k. That's really awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah, she's not bitter about that at all.
Thanks for the question. Okay, 45 likes. Are you going to get your tattoos removed? Oh, that's a good question, actually. I do kind of want to, yeah.
She's always hated the one she has here of the two ladies kissing. She could have had those removed ages ago.
I definitely want to get this one, like my chest tattoo removed. How many tattoos do I even have? I have this one on my wrist and then this one here. I do want to get them removed, yeah, at some point, but I don't know. I mean, they're still kind of there. So I got them before I was Muslim, so I think it would be fine. So
I'm sure it is because you did it before you entered into your new very religious life. Like, that's not the issue. I mean, if she's going to be covered up all the time, I don't suppose it matters.
I don't know. You know what? I probably won't get them removed. Nah.
Too much effort.
Probably not. All right, I'm going to do one more question, and
All right.
then I'm going to resume, So
Hating us.
I do have a community post up.
It was about FFG? Just insulting FFG, so, she's really grown as a person.
I'm wearing a tie hat with my cat. If you want to ask me a question, add to the list. Go ahead.
Oh, it's her question post. Okay. She seems so thrilled to be answering these. No wonder she's doing a part 2. She must be really hard up for content right now.
I will answer them all eventually. Okay.
All of them, will you? You haven't even answered half the ones you've read out today that you could have easily cut from the pile.
I'm not afraid to do these. Let's talk.
Yeah, you're not afraid to do these. You're just not going to answer them. What goes on behind the scenes isn't your business. My religion isn't your business. My finance isn't your business. Why are you doing this Q&A?
50 likes for this question. If Salah said he would leave you if you didn't start taking your health seriously, would you actually try it? I mean, your relationship would be that much better if it was easier for you to get out and enjoy things together. The biggest thing is you would feel better. You just have to learn to be okay with being uncomfortable until it becomes the norm. You can do it. You just have to want to do it. By the way, I do think it's great, and you've gone on walks lately by yourself. That's a great start.
I hate to agree with people, but actually, even if she only went like a 10-minute walk down the street, it's so much better to see her out. And even if her content didn't really change, if she just went out to do it, I'd be a tiny bit happier.
I don't think that it would work, me changing for him. I don't believe personally that changing for anyone other than yourself is long-term sustainable.
You put on a hijab after 3 days. You flew to Kuwait and changed your entire religion inside of some weeks. What do you mean you don't change for a man?
And that's just my belief. There's also always going to be a part of you that's, if your partner demands that thinks they don't accept me for me. Now, on the other hand, I do understand if it comes from a place of concern. You don't want your partner being unhealthy. Like if the roles were reversed and Salah had the condition I have, I would be deeply, deeply concerned about his health.
I'd be deeply, deeply concerned about your ability to go on the travel that he obviously wants to do. Nobody wants to be a caretaker to someone with a choosable condition for the rest of their lives when the person involved could change it and just doesn't care to. Now, that's not the same, before people come for me, as being a caretaker for someone that you love very deeply who happens to have a condition. Chantal made the choices that have gotten her to this point, and she will continue making those choices that are going to make it worse. And she's becoming so immobile, she's becoming so incapable of functioning independently that it must be quite the effort to try and get her to do anything. How long do you want to put up with that, and to what payoff? Which is always the question with, I was about to say Chantal, with Salah. What exactly does he think he's getting out of it?
And really probably be on his ass to change. Yes, I would. But at the same time, you feel bad pressuring somebody or talking to somebody over and over, making them feel bad,
Well, she doesn't feel bad because she does that online a lot, but people should feel bad if they do it to her.
And so if he was like, I'm going to leave you if you don't get healthier, I would totally understand that actually, because, it's, I don't know, but at the same time, we still live a decent life. We still do a lot more than a lot of people who...
You are trapped in your own body. You flew to Thailand and only left the apartment to get coffee or go to the convenience store. There are some people who are incapacitated and can't do the things we do. Yeah, and there are some people who are incapacitated who do the Olympics. It's not a good argument.
Are healthier than I am, and but at the same time, I would like to improve the quality of my life, and I agree totally. It would greatly improve our lives. We could do so much more activities. Just I on a personal level would enjoy my life more too.
Yep.
So of course that's going to affect the quality of our life, our relationship, etc. So, yeah, I see what you mean.
The question was, would you change if Salah said, this is an ultimatum?
So it's a complicated question, I guess.
No, it's not. It's complicated by the fact that she doesn't do ultimatums well, because she will just be like, nope, out of spite. She will cut off her whole nose to spite her face. But if Salah was to go in right now and say, this is it, we have done this for 2 years, I cannot do it anymore, either I see progress or we end this, she would not change.
That's for me to answer, but thank you for asking. So yeah. Anyways, guys, I feel like I've been rambling for a while, and so I'm going to thank you again for asking the questions you asked, and then I'm going to again invite you to ask me more questions, and I will do
I can get angry about and refuse to answer
this as a series. So just scroll down, check out my community post, it will be there. You can ask the question.
We could, but you said you had 70 questions. How many more do you need?
And I'll get to it eventually. So yeah, thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the future. Bye.
Okay guys, there we are. Apparently she doesn't have enough questions, despite the fact that she answered how many here? 7, 8, I don't even know, but okay. Alright guys, I'm gonna leave you there because I got a lot of editing to do. It is 8:30, we'll see if I get through it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.